we're here to kind of talk about the certificate in sustainability. And I know you teach 3 courses that students that get involved with the certificate would be able to take in relation to that, in relation to sustainability. Do you kind of want to talk about what those 3 courses are and give a little background on them?
Okay, yeah, the 3 courses are marine ecosystems and conservation, which is taught in the fall. There's a spring field trip, which last year we took to the Dominican Republic and to Florida. And then there's evolution and history of life, which is taught during the spring. So the one that's most directly related to the certificate is marine ecosystems and conservation. And there we go through a number of ecosystems. We go through coral reefs, mangroves, wetlands, shallow marine communities of all kinds, rocky shores, soft substrates. We talk about the deep sea, and we look essentially at the food web and how things have, how these ecosystems have been recently affected.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about the big plastic gyre, for example, in the Pacific, and what can be done essentially to correct these the problems that are ongoing that these different ecosystems face.
Okay.
So the second course is related to the sustainability project, and I had 4 people last year do sustainability projects related to the second course, and that's the spring field trip.
Okay.
And as I said, last year we went to Florida and the Dominican Republic, and in Florida we snorkeled on modern reefs near Key Largo.
Mm-hmm.
And also we went to the Everglades and looked at some of the environmental issues related to biological conservation there. And in the Dominican Republic, we focused on fossil reefs, and essentially I showed them how we collect fossils, how we identify extinction events, how we determine what environmental factors are responsible for extinctions, and how looking at the fossil record is important for understanding the ongoing extinctions on coral reefs. So, and in the Everglades, we were particularly concerned about the fact that in the 30s and 40s, they drained most of the Everglades to make agricultural
Mm-hmm.
land, and that has caused really bad problems with the wetlands ecosystems there. And so there are new initiatives to increase the water flow, the freshwater flow through the Everglades, and restore those ecosystems. So we talked a little bit about that. So the sustainability projects that different people did on the trip included one called Destruction in the Everglades by Agriculture and What is to be Done. Another one is about an environmental indicator known as periphyton. This is an algae that, if it's healthy and growing a lot, it suggests that the ecosystem is healthy.
Okay.
Another project involved the effects of atmospheric CO2 and temperature change on coral reefs, and the last one, insufficient waste management in the Dominican Republic. So the projects involved not only biological conservation, but this last project involved looking at waste management in the Dominican Republic, which consists mostly of open dumps and not even landfills, essentially.
Yeah.
So these students went on the trip and they prepared reports on these different topics, and were able to fulfill their requirement for the sustainability project using these topics. The last course I teach is a freshman level course, Evolution and History of Life, and it's Gen Ed. And it essentially goes through mass extinctions in Earth history, and then at the very end we deal with the ongoing mass extinction and compare them to these mass extinctions in Earth history. So those are the 3 courses.
Very cool. Yeah, the field trip sounds like a fun way to fulfill that project portion of the certificate. Do you remember a specific experience that you had there that was kind of eye-opening for the students and yourself, in regards to, I'm sure most of it was, but in regards to sustainability, can you think of one example of something that happened while you were there?
So before we went, we looked at lots of videos of coral reefs, and I taught the students how to identify corals.
Mm-hmm.
And when we got to Key Largo, we did some snorkeling on some of the so-called better reefs of the Florida Keys, and we were just very surprised at the amount of dead coral, the fact that algae was overgrowing a lot of the coral, the fact that the diversity was much lower than what we expected, and the amount of disease that we could see just in the little bit of snorkeling that we did. So that was probably the biggest eye-opener, and one of the students actually wrote about that for his sustainability project.
Yeah.
He was more interested in the effects of ocean acidification and temperature change, in other words, warming climates on reefs, but
right.
In his project. But the other aspect is just local pollution
right.
that was harming those reefs.